Good afternoon, friends. In the lecture series on investors protection, in this lecture I'll be talking about, to start with, Investors Education Protection Fund. Friends, Education Protection Fund or Investors Education and Protection Fund was created in 2016 to administer investors' education and protection. Who are the contributors? Where from the fund generates resources? So the very first contributory is Securities and Exchange Board of India itself. So contribution given by the SEBI. SEBI time to time give money to the investor in the Investor Education and Protection Fund. Not only the SEBI but the central government and the state government by way of grants and donation also contribute for this fund. Security deposits, if any, held by stock exchanges in respect of public issue and right issue in the event of derecognition of such stock exchanges. Friends, the stock exchanges, in India, in the past there were very small stock exchanges which now have been derecognized. And these stock exchanges had certain security deposits money, right? So all these stock exchanges which have been derecognized, the security deposits has been transferred to Investor Education and Protection Fund. The interest or other income received out of investments made from funds means that the fund has certain sum of money, the pool of resources. This pool of resources itself is being invested in some through some investments. So whatever the interest and the income that is being received through this investment, that also generate resources for this fund. Utilization of Investors Education Protection Fund. How the money is being utilized? For what are the purposes for which this education fund and protection fund is being utilized? For organizing educational activities including seminars, training, publication. See, what is the basic idea? Basic idea is to create awareness among the investors about their rights, duties, about making people aware about the financial instruments, benefits of each of the instrument, the precautions that one should take while investing in these instruments, right? How the various agencies, the intermediary functions, what is the role of the investor while dealing with these, right? And if you want to open an account with any of these, either you open say for example depository account, what is the process involved, what is the procedure of opening an account, right? What is the process of opening an account with a broker through which you want to buy and sell your securities, and so on and so forth, right? So these funds, what they do is, by using its resources, organizes seminars, organizes training programs for the invested. Time to time is published various educational material, right? Publications. So through these publications, through this education material, they want to train the people, they want to educate the people, they want to educate the investors. Remuneration of office expenses of ombudsman. In my previous lecture on the investors aware, I talked about a office that is called ombudsman. Ombudsman is an officer to whom you can submit your grievance, and ombudsman has been created. This office has been created by SEBI, right? So this office itself has its own expenses. The idea of creating an ombudsman office or ombudsman officer is so that the grievance of the investor can be heard and can be resolved, right? So expenses of these office can be met from the Investor Education Protection Fund, because this very idea of creating an ombudsman officer or offices so that the investors' grievances can be sorted out, so that people have faith in the system. Time and again I've been telling you that why this is important about the investors awareness program, why this is important that the investor should know where they are investing, in which instruments they are investing. Because if they are being cheated, then the faith from that system will be loosened, right? So a market to be survive, a market to flourish, a market to increase the size in terms of money, in terms of size, in terms of number of investors, it is very important that people must have faith in the system. And faith in the system will come when the things will be transparent, right? So transparency and the faith in the system will come that when no unauthorized transactions takes place, when the rules and regulations are being followed, people should do, or the different agencies, different intermediaries, they are involved in this financial markets, in this capital market, the primary market, they must work honestly, right? So for this purpose, the education is important. Education of different investors is important. And through this fund, education programs are being undertaken. So to undertake awareness programs aimed at investors' protection through media, print, electronics. See, you open any financial paper, business paper, right? Through, if you see any business channel, electronic media, what you will find in during your programs, many articles you will find, many things you will find which are sponsored advertisement, right? Through which either by SEBI or by stock exchanges or by investors association, where the awareness is being created about the stock market, about the intermediaries to the investors. Refund of security deposits held by stock exchanges means, suppose, in a stock exchange, the security deposit is to be refunded. So this fund can be used for refund of security deposit of the stock exchanges. Helping investors association to undertake legal proceedings and creating awareness programs by investors association. These days, the Securities and Exchange Board of India also helps the investors association, right? So a group of investors or some people can create an association for the purpose of creating awareness about, for purpose of raising their voice for the rights of the investors, right? So there are many investors association which are permitted, which are authorized by the regulator, that is Securities and Exchange Board of India. So through this fund, through this Investor Education and Protection Fund, the financing, the money is being given, because these are the association of small investors, right? So where from the money will come for organizing seminars, for organizing, going to schools, colleges, for making the people aware, right? So the Investors Education Fund gives money to these associations. Salary, allowances and other expenses of Office of Ombudsman and such other purposes as may be specified by the SEBI, right? So the Ombudsman officer, the expenses of Ombudsman office, the expenses are being met out from this fund. So now, after talking of this, that is what the organizations do, these different type of organizations do. Now let me come to the role of stock exchanges in investors' protection. What is the role of stock exchange? In what manner the stock exchanges helps in investors' protection? There are two major stock exchanges in the country, BSE and NSE, right, where majority of trading takes place. Both these exchanges have taken some important initiatives to protect investors' interest. Means I'll be talking both these separately. BSE initiatives for investors' protection and NSE initiatives for investors' protection. Now let me talk first about the BSE initiative for investor protection. They have created a separate department called DIS, Department of Investor Services. This department, which has been started by the BSE, that is Bombay Stock Exchange, right, especially deals with the problems and the grievances of the investors. That is, which is known as Department of Investors Services, DIS. It is dedicated department which was established by BSE in 1986 to redress investors' grievances. That if any grievance of any investor related to BSE or related to a company that is listed in the BSE, right, is being taken care of. It plays an important role in enhancing and maintaining investor faith and confidence by resolving their grievances. As I just said, that if you have any grievance, not only with the company but also with the exchange members itself, like the brokers who are registered with the BSE, right? Any grievance, like say for example, you have sold some shares to a broker, through a broker, and the broker, who is the registered member of the BSE, he has not paid you the money in time. So you have a grievance, you have a genuine grievance. You can lodge a complaint to the BSE DIS office, and this DIS office will see to it that why the payment has not been made, and if it finds a member default, it will not only see to it that your money is being credited in your account, but also even it can charge some penalty and ask the concerned broker to pay some penalty to you, so that in future no such activities takes place by the broker. Right? Services offered by DIs, there are like investor grievance against listed companies. That is, as I said, that any company which is listed in the BSE, if you have any grievance, not only with the broker, even with the listed companies, those are listed in the stock exchanges, you can file a complaint to them. Right? Claim against defaulted expelled members. Suppose, as I said, each of the exchange, whether BSE, NSE, has its authorized members who are normally known as, in the common parlance, we call them brokers of the exchange. Right? So if any broker, any member of the stock exchange makes any default, or if he is being expelled because of illegal activities, then in that case, if an investor has any claim against that broker, against that member, against the default of that member, or it may be expelled members, right? So you can make a claim to the BSE, and BSE through its fund, through the fund, will make you to compensate you to some extent. Investors' grievances against listed companies. Investor can submit their grievance to the nearest regional investor service center of the BSE. See, BSE has various regional centers. The head offices of BSE is in Mumbai, but it has regional center in Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, right? So there are many regional centers. Not only you have to lodge a complaint, you can lodge these complaints to your regional center also, right? So investor service center of the BSE in prescribed format, BSE forwards such complaints to the respective entities. Respective entity means the companies against which the complaint relates. If a complaint remains unresolved for 30 days, an investor may notify to the BSE. Means you file a complaint to the BSE, BSE will forward this to the concerned authority, concerned person, concerned company, right? If it is not being resolved within 30 days, you just inform the stock exchange that your complaint has not been resolved. To settle such complaints, the BSE follow up with the company or their regulator and transfer agents. Transfer agents means most of the companies have for transferring the share, they have their own registrars, right? So these registrars, the job of the registrar is to transfer the shares, to distribute the dividend. Whenever the company distributes the dividend, it is the job of the registrar to send the dividend check electronically, right? So the various functions that are being performed by the registrar, the problem has to be resolved. If there are more than 25 cases, this is very important, friends. If there are more than 25 cases against the company which remains unresolved for more than 45 days, then BSE suspend the trading in such securities and transfer such scripts to Z Group. Friends, this is a very shameful thing, that if a company's share which is listed in the stock exchange is being transferred to the Z Group, right? So it means it signifies that something wrong is there, right? Something wrong means some wrong practices are being adopted by the company, or things are not as clear. So in this case, if the more than 25 cases are being accumulated and they remain unresolved, then in that case the BSE will transfer this. Means there are A group, B group, and similarly there are Z group. So Z group, there are various stringent things which are there. So these, and which shows that normally the moment the security is being transferred in the Z group, so the trading is get reduced, because people lose faith that this security is this company is in the Z group. It means it is not a very good company, it's not a very investor friendly company, right? So it transferred it to the Z group. A company in the Z group indicates that it has not complied with rules of the listed agreements. It also acts as a warning signal for the investors about the investment positions. Means it's the moment is the company's stock is being transferred to the Jet Group, it creates an awareness. It creates an I would say investors alert that dealing with this such company is a risky thing, right? So people may not like to deal with such company. So it is a warning signal for the investors about their investment position. Investors' complaints are transferred to the concerned BSE trading members. So investors can approach the investor grievances redress committee if trading member does not reply within 3 working days. Means if you have a complaint against a member of the BSE, so there is a committee called Investors Grievance Redressal Committee. Investor Grievance Redressal Committee see to it that within 3 days the member must reply to the investor whose grievance is there. If IGRC could not suggest amicable solution, then the complainant can opt for arbitration. So either the IGRC will resolve the matter. If IGRC fails to resolve the matter, then the matter goes to the arbitration. Means BSE itself has an arbitration office. Through arbitration, they try to get the problem resolved. The exchange imposes penalties on the trading members for not replying within specified time period. Means if within 3 days, if the member doesn't respond to the complaint of the investor, then the exchange has full power to impose penalty on its member. The complaint worth less than rupees 25 lakh rupees is investigated by the IGRC comprising of 1 member, and complaints worth more than 25 lakh rupees are heard by IGRC team comprising of 3 members. It means that if the complaint is of less than 25 lakh rupees, the amount involved is less than 25 lakh rupees, then 1 member committee will heard the grievance. If the complaint involved is more than 25 lakh rupees, then in that case 3 member committee will hear the grievance of the investor. The exchange establishes separate IGRCs for each regional investors. That is, there are different regions like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, right? So these regional centers hear the exchange on a regional basis. Service center to protect investors' interest, as the time spent in resolving in redressal of complaint through IGRC will not be considered while measuring period of limitation in filing arbitration. See, if the matter is not being resolved by IGRC within a stipulated time, then matter goes to the arbitration. When an investor wants to file its grievance complaint to the arbitration, whatever the time that has been taken by IGRC, that will not be counted. Means you can't say that if suppose 1 month is being spent, 1 month spent is being spent at the level of IGRC, and then you file a complaint to the arbitration. This 1 month will not be counted, as if it will be seen that as if the problem, the grievance has arisen just now, and immediately you are putting in the notice of the arbitration. So investors claim against defaulters, expelled members. Maximum compensation of rupees 15 lakh can be paid to the client of a defaulter from Investors Protection Fund, right? So if any of the member, the BSE or the NSE, makes any default, the broker, means normally these members are the brokers, then the compensation to the extent of 15 lakh rupees can be paid from the Investors Protection Fund. BSE has also established Investor Protection Fund to compensate the clients who have suffered financial losses as a result of their members being declared as defaulter. I was just talking of that. So BSE Training Institute, means there is a training institute in the BSE. BSE Training Institutes organizes a regular educational program across the country to educate the investors regarding capital market. There is a separate institution that is created by the BSE, which is known as BSE Training Institute. The job of this training institute is to organize various programs, to education programs, to train the investors. Similarly, on the line of the BSE, similar steps are being taken by the NSE. There, as you are aware, that there are 2 major stock exchanges, BSE and NSE. Both these exchanges organize various programs independent of each other to make investors aware. So NSE Investor Service Cell. In the NSE, which is in terms of volume, in terms of transaction, NSE is the largest stock exchange in this country. So NSE has created a separate cell which is known as NSE Investor Service Cell. So Investor Service Cell has been established by the NSE at various locations: Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Jaipur, etc. Investor can file complaint against listed companies, corporate entities and NSE members. It also renders administrative assistance to arbitration proceedings in respect of arbitration cases. As in the case, as I talked in case of the BSE, similarly the NSE has its NSE Investor Service Cell, right? So it has developed certain mechanism through which you can get your problem, you can get your grievance resolved. And not only if you are not able to get your problem resolved through this mechanism, then there is a arbitration proceeding also, as was the case in the BSE. The Investor Grievance Cell investigates and resolves concern about trade which are executed on the NSE using the NEAT terminal and routed through the NSE trading members or SEBI registered sub-broker of NSE trading member. Friends, as you know, these days there are all the transactions that takes place on the National Stock Exchange, that is NSE, is through terminals, right? So simple language, through computer. And the system that is being used is called NEAT, N-E-A-T, NEAT terminal. So if you have any grievance, any issue regarding some member who is registered broker of the company or the BSE or sub-broker, right? So if there is any grievance regarding the dealing aspects, right, then the grievance can be taken up with the NSE. Traders involving companies listed on the NSE. Not only the trades involved with the brokers, the grievance related to the brokers, even you have any grievance with the company which is listed on the stock exchange, that is NSE, you can take care of, means you can file a complaint to the NSE. So NSE, like in the BSE also, NSE has also created a fund, NSE Investors Protection Fund. This fund is governed by registered trust established specifically for the purpose. Its objects is to educate and create awareness among the investors. It also compensates the investors in case of defaulters' assets subject to maximum rupees 25 lakh per investor per defaulter expelled members, right? So for one defaulter or one expelled members to the extent of 25 lakh rupees, through this investor protection fund, an investor can be compensated. Complaint against the trading members. Investor complaints are forwarded to the respected trading members or to registered sub-broker. The trading members has to reply within 15 days from the day of receiving complaint. Most of the complaints are resolved in this manner or by inviting a joint meeting. In case the dispute remains unsolved, then the parties may refer to the arbitration. Similarly, like the BSE, NSE has also a arbitration process as a complaint mechanism resolving method through which the complaints can be resolved. Complaint against the company, how it gets resolved? Investors' complaints are forwarded to the respective companies for share transfer agents for the required action. The complaints is required to be responded within 21 days, and if no response was given by company, then a follow-up letters, phone calls and personal meeting is undertaken to accelerate their repair. Now, there is another aspect apart from the BSE and NSE. There is another aspect which is known as investors' activism. We are talking of investors' protection. In the how you protect your investors. So these days, SEBI even promotes directly and indirectly investor activism. That let the investor themselves form association. Like let them have a class suit system. I'll be talking just now. That is which is known as investors activism. Investor activism is a concept where an investor can influence the behavior of the corporations means companies, either through his management or by exercising his right. Means investor by either through its association, an association has certain executives, management, or through himself, for exercising his right, the investors can see to it that the company follows the rules and regulation, company follows the systems, and the grievance of these investors can be resolved. It is a step forward for investors' empowerment. This is a step in the direction of, that is, investors should be empowered, investors should be able to influence even the management of the company. There are certain regulations which paves the way for investor activism. Class action suit. What is class action suit? Class action suit means a group of investors who have the common issue, who have common problem. They can create a group and file a suit against the company, right? And the court will hear all the different petitions, will be clubbed together, and they will hear the case as a group, right? That case is being heard by the court, that as if a large number of section of the investors are having the same issue involved. That is known as class action suit. Class action suit facilitate investor to take action against the company and its management in case of wrongdoing. Appointment of small shareholders, directors, to protect the interest of the small shareholders. Sometimes, not necessarily the mandatorily, the small shareholders director is being appointed on the board to see to it that the interest of the small shareholder is being protected. Provision of electronic voting. See, as you know, the investors are spread throughout the country, even it can be internationally also. And suppose in an annual meeting or meeting on an issue, the meeting takes place in the head office or in the city of the head office, right? So it is very difficult for the small investors to participate in the meeting, to participate in the voting process. So what the SEBI has done is, they have made a provision that those who want to make electronic voting, right, so they can, wherever there is a regulatory provision for postal ballot, so these postal ballots, instead of sending the postal ballot in physical form, there is an electronic voting system, so that each and every small investor can participate in that. So provision of electronic voting in respect of matters required postal ballot, which allows minority shareholders to have their say. Similarly, participation of mutual funds and other institutions investors in corporate decision making. See, as you know, that in India, the mutual funds are the large investors in the equity market, because small investors invest in the equity market through mutual funds, right? So these mutual funds, their officers can be a part in the parcel of the corporate decision making, because they represent the large number of investors. Appointment of independent women directors as per clause 49 of the listing agreement. Not only the companies should have executive directors, but they should also have a non-executive directors. They should have an independent director and they should have a woman director. So all these measures are being taken by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, by the stock exchanges, by the depositories. The idea of all these measures is to create investors awareness, investors protection, so that no investor is being cheated, the transparency is being maintained in the system, so that the confidence of the investors can be created in the capital market, in the financial markets of the country. With this objective, various measures have been undertaken. Thank you very much.